Hello, YouTube. Again, I'm going to try to keep this under 10 minutes. I have trouble doing that. But I just wanted to respond to this particular strain of conversation, this issue of being honest and honesty on YouTube. And generally, if I'm being flip and mildly facetious, I would say that honesty is a bit overrated. But and I think I would say that, though, because I sort of assume that everyone lies. I think that says probably a lot more about me than about other people. But I tend to think that so. Like even on YouTube, where you can, sit in front of a camera, even showing your face, you can you can show the face that you want other people to see in a way that's easier to do. Even in everyday life, because in everyday life we show people the faces we want them to see, not necessarily who we are. And but on YouTube it's that much easier because you can splice and you can cut. And I've tried a little bit of that, mostly to get over or to cut out the fact that I tend to repeat myself when I get nervous. But yeah, so honesty, and I think maybe one of the issues about honesty is that in order to be honest with other people, it's sort of important that we're honest with ourselves. That means looking at ourselves and knowing who we are, not who we want to be or who we aspire to be or who we imagine ourselves to be, but who we actually are. And I think that people find that really, really difficult. Because there's no more powerful delusion than self-delusion. And I'm not talking about, the mild egomania that goes on YouTube, because I take that for granted as well. I mean, one of the things about YouTube, I don't take it all that seriously. I don't think you can. I think that it's dangerous to take something like this too seriously. And that includes, like MySpace, where I have a page, or blogs, or anything else. It's really, I think, hard to take it too seriously, because, again, I think my underlying assumption about people is that most people, on some level, are lying. And so when I find people who are honest, it's kind of a surprise. And, but even honest people, like, we choose our names, our logon names, and our identities. And we do that for a lot of reasons. We do it to hide who we are. We do it, again, to establish, a persona. But honesty, I think, is a rare quality in YouTube and in real life, because I think most people are not willing to be honest with themselves. And so I think, Bella, one of the reasons why people are so enamored with your videos is because generally, even when you're ranting, and I know you were complaining, or you're not complaining, you were commenting on how you seem to be angry a lot, and you were angry because Amendum seemed so angry, and you were sort of maybe copying him. But even with that, I think there's something about you that shines through, and that's fine. I don't want to do one of those videos, but I just want to point out that honesty is a rare thing everywhere, and especially on YouTube, where it's so easy to lie, and it's so easy to get stuck on issues. I mean, I like talking about hot button issues. I have to admit it. It's kind of fun. It's kind of fun to rattle people and to play with words. And maybe it's not important in the grand scheme of things, because ultimately I don't think we're going to change anybody's minds about anything. I think if people have deeply held convictions, whether it's religious or political, or what kind of milk they prefer, whether it's skim milk or 1% or chocolate, nothing is we're not going to change people's minds. And I really don't ever aspire to do that. One of the things I talk about in my classes when I teach argument is that the point of argument is not to change someone's mind. It is to exchange ideas. And so that's really my highest ambition when I do these things, is to exchange ideas. And so that's what I look for when I have conversations with people a little bit over YouTube. That's what I look for in everyday life, actually. It's just some place where I can, spout and get spouted back at with more ideas, so that we can exchange ideas and not worry about offense and not worry about people taking it too seriously. Because at the end of the day, they are just words, and while words are powerful, they're not the be-all, end-all. Even for someone like me who spends a lot of time dealing with words, they occupy a large part of my time. I'm not going to lie about that, but I think because they occupy so much of my time, I understand that they are just words. And rather than getting caught up in having to defend ourselves, we should just talk. But I think people, when they get defensive, they're defensive because, when we talk about ideas, sometimes we hit something, a button on them that they're not quite prepared to deal with. We hit them in a blind spot, or in a spot that's kind of sensitive. We hit the soft part of their skull, and that's unpleasant when that happens. So, so honesty. If I were being honest about things like depression, I would say that I spend a significant amount of my time depressed. But that's different than being content or ill-content. Because I think of myself as a very content person. I have issues with my job, but I think everybody has issues with their job. I love my wife. I love the life that we have managed to build so far. But I see depression as sort of part of the process of being a creative person. It's always been there, and I think it will always be there, and that's why I tend to I don't trust psychotherapy, and I don't trust those little happy pills that people take. I'm much more into self-medicating. I like to drink and I smoke, but I've cut out other forms of self-medication, so I figure that I'm doing pretty good. But depression is a part of life, those ups and downs, and I hope that when people get down like that, even when they get really, really, really depressed, I hope they realize that eventually things shift. That's not an attempt to make people feel better or to minimize people's pain, but it doesn't last forever. It really doesn't. And so I hope that Bella, if you get depressed, that you understand, and you seem to understand that life is sort of fluid like that. And I hope that other people see that too. And that's not a religious thing. That's more of a philosophical thing on my part. I do believe that the only thing that we can absolutely count on in this life is change. So that's all I got to say. Hopefully I'm under 10 minutes. If not, I'm going to do all this shit again. And I may do more videos this week just because I'm kind of in that mood. So anyway, hope things are going well for you. This is Mick. I'll talk to you later.